Broadcasting live from the edge of Malachol in the plain of Belanon, this is Tap Tap Concede. And this week, we have a bunch of different people.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, we've got Cam here,
Hello.
and we have Alex.
Yeah, everybody else left, so...
They don't even know we're doing this.
Haha. Secret podcast.
We're gonna tell you all their top secret deck tech so you can beat them.
Cheat.
I like there's a plane, or this is the edge of Malachol in the plain of
Do
Belanon.
they have the center of Malachol?
Yeah,
and,
it's
the other edge?
Everyone just hangs out at the edge, I guess. It's like, yeah.
Is it like a field or more like a pizza?
Oh, that's actually pretty sweet.
Yeah. I don't think I have no idea what this plane is.
We haven't played Plane Chase in a long time. Well,
If a creature you control would untap, instead put 2/1/1 cat. So everything just like
sleep now.
everything just like cocoons.
Right.
And then when you roll chaos, everything untaps
It's
and
like,
you
oh,
die.
that could be dangerous.
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about with Cam and Alex here. We're gonna talk about some constructed stuff and maybe some commanders, maybe some legacy. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But first, we got a pack.
I was saying earlier that we kind of wish that Paul had saved this reveal for the stream because we're so excited.
So,
This is Ice Age.
yeah, which when I first started playing Magic was the last set I played.
I think I may have had the same experience as you.
Yeah. Where I was like 8 or 9 and had finally made it through Fallen Empires.
I think this was actually near when I started to play. I think, which is interesting.
There's gonna be some real classic cards in here.
Yeah. I kind of wish this had been like in the freezer or something. So it was
Yeah. Ooh.
All right.
So we want to get that Jester's Cap, which apparently was a big deal back when I was playing.
I'd kind of want to see a Brainstorm or Painland.
Well,
right,
of
let
course
me
you want to
just-
see the useful cards.
All right. Let's see what we got.
Here, do you want me to read them off and you can...
Sure. Yeah. Why don't you do that?
All right. We start with Orcish Cannoneers. This is a really bad pinger. Well, just a really dangerous pinger. It's 1 red for 1/3. Summon orcs.
Yeah.
Orcs was still a tribe in this block.
Yeah.
You tap it, and it shocks a creature, player, and lightning bolts you, which is to say it deals 2 damage to something you want, and then 3 damage to your face. I feel like there's a law of diminishing returns there.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know, maybe in draft this is sweet, because it's like you just have this sweet shock on tap.
Now, I guess orcs are just big goblins now, eh?
I guess?
Yeah.
I was never really clear on that.
Orcish
We haven't
cannoneers?
seen
Those
orcs.
the cannoneers. Is that
Yeah.
what?
We haven't seen orcs as a tribe in a long time.
And we also haven't seen dwarves as a tribe in a long time.
I wonder if
Well,
that
dwarves
was-
have been pretty much replaced by goblins, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like goblins.
Although we did see Duragar in...
Yeah, what the heck was a Duragar?
They were a dwarf analog from Shadowmoor and
Oh, okay.
They were like dark dwarves.
And
Lorwyn.
they also had Ufes.
Yeah.
That's a creature type. That's
Well,
like...
Ufes I thought were a kind of goblin.
Yeah. There was a fantasy, hierarchy I saw once. I feel like it was drawn by Brian Froud. And it was just like every variant of, goblin-y,
Right.
hobgoblin, all that.
But
junk.
there was a time that like orcs and goblins was actually like they were sort of not sub but they're sort of together. Like there would actually be things that would affected both orcs and goblins.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. That they were like a tribe, 2 tribes that kind of worked together. Like you'd have an orc and goblin deck.
Well,
Anyway.
got an artifact up next.
Ooh.
Arkham's Weather Vane. It's a 2-drop artifact. 2 and tap it. Target snow-covered land becomes a non-snow-covered land of the same type.
Huh.
Mark the changed land with a counter, so it permanently unsnows stuff. Oh my god, and then the second ability is the exact reverse. Target non-snow-covered land becomes a snow-covered land of the same type.
So basically, the play here that you're hoping for is to get through with snow walk creatures.
I guess it's like you turn it on during your
Arkham
turn
Weather
to
Bane.
get through a snow walk, and then turn it off during their. I don't know.
I always like to imagine that we're like, all the stuff when there's like these big, in the olden days in Magic, there's like, the big wizards. There's Urza and Mishra and Arkham and
Standing in
different
towers
things.
opposite one another, flinging monsters.
yeah. But that as the game would progress, you would get more and more. It would be like, Urza's shoe,
Right, yeah. As resources
Urza's
became
pocket
depleted.
knife.
Yeah.
That'd be really funny. It's like the very end of the battle, and you're just like literally throwing rocks at each other.
But it's like literally like these guys are so powerful that literally even the weather vane he's got
Yeah, it's just
has superpowers.
Urza's savage burn, savage
Yeah.
ice burn.
Yeah. Yes. Urza's hurtful comment.
I am Mishra's prostate cancer.
So, some irony here. We have a white card that's called Black Scarab. 1 white for this enchant creature. Target creature gets +2/+2 as long as any opponent controls any black cards.
This
That
would have been a
creature-
cycle, I guess.
Yeah, that creature cannot be blocked by black creatures. Interesting. So this is just like
+2/+2. He doesn't give actual protection, but he can't be blocked.
And you only get the pump if they have control of black permanent, which is pretty
Right.
savage. Like 1 mana for a +2/+2 suit would be not that bad.
Like
But-
this could actually be playable, like sideboardable.
Yeah, it's just like if your opponent's heavy in black, maybe it's just like this sweet pump spell.
Yeah.
This is actually reminds me a little bit of the cycle of rings that they did in the in
M13.
M13.
Right.
Like if this was enchanted creature gets +2/+2 as long as you control black permanent.
Well, then you can build around it.
Right, and then that would be pretty good. But as a sideboard one, I don't know. Anyway,
More artifacts. Was this like a really artifact-heavy block?
I believe it was.
Well, they had common artifacts in this block, I think.
Yeah, maybe for the
this
first
was the
time,
one with serrated arrows was in this set?
possibly.
Maybe?
All right,
That
sounds
yeah.
Infinite Hourglass for 4 colorless. During your upkeep, put a time counter on Infinite Hourglass. During any upkeep, any player may pay 3 colorless to remove a time counter from Infinite Hourglass. All creatures get +1/+0 for each time counter on Infinite Hourglass. This seems fun in Commander.
Oh wow, that's
So-
that's basically that almost seems like
jeez.
I think that
That-
ability might actually be on a plane from Plane Chase.
That's our rare, by the way.
Is it?
That's the rare in the pack.
Oh, is
Oh,
it?
yeah.
In the middle.
Yeah, I was about to say that seems really
crazy.
weird for a common, but yeah.
Yeah. So this is just like this also has
And was
gorgeous
reprinted
art.
in 5th edition.
Um,
Oh, this is the one I've
Yeah,
got
so
is different art.
each of your upkeeps, everything gets bigger teeth, and then anybody who wants
Oh.
to can make them smaller.
You know why they changed the art?
What?
Look at the artist.
Oh, is it? Oh, is that who I think it is?
Yeah.
Harold McNeil.
Harold McNeil is someone you shouldn't Google if you're at work.
He's a little
Did
racist.
they
He's a little racist, yeah.
did they go through and expunge all of his art from Magic later on?
I don't know, but it makes sense that they didn't reprint it later on when it came time to reprint it,
That is a shame.
which is a shame because I love his artwork.
yeah, it's
but
really
it's
good.
it's a little racist.
It occurs to me that Infinite Hourglass sounds cool, but completely defeats the purpose of an hourglass.
just
Yeah.
like an infinite
What time is it? I
An
don't
infinite
know.
hourglass is just
A
sand,
waterfall.
It's just sand
Yeah.
falling. Like it's
Yeah.
not actually useful at all.
It'd be one of those like really cool kind of fantasy props that you just like watch and watch and watch, and it never runs out of sand, and you think you're going crazy.
Or it's like a fantasy desk toy.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, all right.
I feel like I've won this pack now
Ooh.
because we have a Morfiend, and this card is special to me. Morfiend.
Ah.
This card's special to me because I remember being at Comic-Con International, I think,
right.
and there was this video promoting Magic the Gathering, and it was like 2 wizards fighting, and like one of the monsters they summon is Morfiend, and then the other wizard mind controls it, and then they start throwing bad 90s special effects at each other.
Right.
No.
So he looks sort of like an alien.
3/3 Swamp Walk for 4 in black is not
Yeah, I
terrible.
think right now this is my first pick in this pack.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
guy seems like a perfectly serviceable tank.
Like you wouldn't take the Infinite Hourglass. Too dangerous.
Hey, Limdol the Necromancer's on this.
Yeah, this was the set that Limdol was from.
Yeah, let them close the gates of Krov from dusk till dawn if they choose. It matters not. My fiends shall yet rend their flesh from their bones. That actually kind of describes his ability.
As long as they have swamps.
As long as they have swamps,
I'm
you're going to
assuming-
get rended.
If
I'm
they don't
assuming
have
Krov is a swamp city.
if they don't have swamps, then we're screwed.
We've got a card right after that actually helps with that.
All right.
Good old-fashioned Stone Rain.
Ooh.
They don't make that no more.
No,
For a really good
they're
reason.
just like, oh, well,
Wow, look at that.
this
Yeah.
card has been reprinted a lot.
And
The Ice Age one.
yeah, they've reprinted it all the way up to 9th edition.
Yeah.
I think it was the last one. And then they were like, wait, everyone
so
hates
this has
this.
been in Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, Revised, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, Ice Age, Mirage, Tempest, Mercadian Masks, Kamigawa,
Then all the
Starter
portals.
1999, and then all the Portal sets, including Portal 3 Kingdoms.
Yeah.
So it's been printed a lot. This is just sort of like the most vanilla, sort of playable blow-up land card.
Yeah.
In fact, it's one of those cards that's used to refer to a destroy land effect. It's like, oh yeah, this guy Stone Rains when he comes into play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just,
it's
blow up a
the
land.
basic version. But this was basically the excising of Stone Rain was basically them admitting that land destruction
Is not fun.
is not fun.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
especially with like colors or like a mana cost that's this easy to hit, like 2 and a red, you can splash for that.
Right.
Comparable,
I think they actually have taken land destruction out of red completely now too. Anyway,
really?
haven't
I
they?
don't think they have.
yeah, there
it's
was-
just super expensive now. Like you'll pay 5 to blow up a land.
Right. Or
the-
you're more likely to like return land to someone's hand or something rather than actually destroy it.
they've changed it so that it's like blow up a non-basic. So you have something like Molten Rain, which is a lot more fair because it's harder to cast and it only targets non-basics. Because then it's more like getting rid of like utility lands than just cutting
like
somebody off their mana base.
Yeah, just getting rid of like their one special
which is
land.
just annoying.
Of course, in some formats, every land is non-basic, so it works just as well.
Yeah.
Or in
But even then, it costs 2 red.
or like effects like Anathemancer or Price of Progress, which
Real strong.
are real strong but aren't as aggravating.
Yeah, because you
they
can play
they-
around it.
Yeah, and they let your opponent actually play the game instead of just blowing up their land on turn 3 and on 4 and on 5.
Yeah. You're just like, welp,
All right.
I sure wish I had some land. So we got a peak effect, Clairvoyance. 1 blue, instant, look at target player's hand. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So this is how they used to do cantrips, is you would draw a card later.
Right.
The next turn's upkeep.
And then they,
Yeah.
like almost every card like this, when it cantrips, it's always like on layaway. So like Arcane Denial, you draw the card later. Portent, yeah, you draw the card later. And then they were just like, you know what, you can just draw a card now and have an effect. Like I think there's, this is being, it's not like upgraded to,
Gitaxian Probe?
yeah, because Probe is a sorcery, but you can cast it for free.
But it takes 2 damage.
Yeah.
But you draw the card immediately. The Gitaxian Probe, you still draw a card, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so you draw the card
Yeah,
immediately.
peak, draw a card. So this is, I think Brett plays either this card or cards similar to it in his Storm deck, because he has to know what you're up to before, it's looking both ways before you.
Yeah,
Cross
before you
the
try to
road.
combo out.
I feel like
Yeah.
this is one of those cards that, when it was printed, was just like a nothing card. But in the time since, as play styles and the metagame has changed, actually looking at, people realize that looking at somebody's hand
Information can be really valuable.
is actually way more valuable than was originally thought. And so you would probably do this at the end of their turn, so that you would just then draw 2
Also,
cards on your
instant
turn.
is kind of sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you could
Draw
do it.
step clairvoyance.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Or End Step Clairvoyance.
Yeah, and then you just draw 2 on your turn.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
And then you know if they've got counter magic up or a kill spell in hand or a combat trick.
Oh boy. We've got another classic right here. Gangrenous Zombies.
Ooh.
It's 1 black for 2/2 zombies. Tap, sacrifice them to have it deal 1 damage to each creature or player. Or to each creature and player. If you control any snow-covered swamps, it deals 2 damage instead.
Ugh.
That's actually
Not only are they
that's pretty
zombies,
good.
but they're zombies with gangrene. Ugh.
That's gross.
Yeah.
So, it's like,
Bears plus Pyroclasm seems fine.
yeah. I
At
mean, I don't
instant
know.
speed.
I feel like this is a little bit more of a control-y card. It's like, you maybe play him to get in
Oh man,
and fight. And then
super sweet combo with the weather vane there.
No.
Yeah, it's like, haha, boom.
Well, I imagine like you can also block with this guy tap.
Or could you counter that using the weather vane? It's like they activate, and with the ability on the stack, you change their 1 snow swamp into a regular swamp.
What a wildly interactive limited format this must have been.
Oh man.
Would that have? Except this there was no stack at that point. Things.
Oh
worked,
right.
Oh,
Yeah, they
everything
didn't
right.
have the stack.
Oh.
so it
everything
didn't
worked
matter.
differently at that point, and I have no idea how it worked.
I don't remember how the rules work.
I
back
played
then.
it, but I think I probably played it wrong. Back
Yeah.
then. I didn't know. The
Yeah.
fact that I didn't know that there wasn't any stack probably means
Yeah.
that I was playing. It
I
wrong
think
back
the
then.
way that we played it was whoever was largest got their
It's
way.
like you play the 5/5s and you win, right?
or whoever.
No. Whoever the biggest kid was at
that,
recess
That too.
Or-
had the correct rules interpretation.
or whoever was more sure of the rules. It would just be like, yes, this is how it is, and be like, okay. I can't refute that. I don't know anything better, so okay.
Get out the tiny rule book and see if it's in there. We got some Aurochs. This
AUR.
AUROCHS.
I remember these guys.
There's been a bunch of them, and they all have a similar theme, which is that they are stampeding.
Mm-hmm.
So they did. They came back in Ice Age as not as a
In
tribe.
Cold
but
Snap. You mean.
These guys, I think their mechanic is they always have synergy with themselves,
Right,
or like
right.
others of their type. Because this one is 3 and a green for a 2/3 with trample. When attacking, it gets +1/+0 for each other Aurochs that attacks.
Of course, as with a lot of these early sets, the problem is that
It's like how
the
many
other
Aurochs
the other
were there?
Aurochs are in Cold Snap, which didn't come out for years later.
Wah, wah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, do you pick this in draft and hope that you get to build the Aurochs deck with 3 Aurochs?
He's
Live
just
the
like,
dream,
Oh man! As soon as I land that 3rd one, you're hosed.
Lord Auroch.
Lord Aurochs. Oh hey, it's a Tim. Zurin Spellcaster, 2 and a blue
Oh.
for a 1/1 wizard. Tap, deal 1 damage to target creature or player. This was before they shifted this
To
type
red.
of creature to red.
Right. Yep.
Because
Yep.
Tim
Yeah,
used
this
to be
is just a
blue
function.
card.
This is just a functional reprint of Prodigal Sorcerer.
God, you play 8 of them.
Oh, there was Tim, Zern Enchanter, and there was a Merfolk who did it too.
Yeah, the Goblin Merfolk did it,
Yeah, Prodigal Sorcerer.
and then there was like Pirate Ship.
Yeah, there's
Pirate
like there
ship.
was an actual, like, I remember one of my friends actually had a full on Tim deck that it was just they're all 2 and 1, tap to do 1 damage,
Yeah.
and once you get 3 or 4 out, you're basically screwed because
Yeah.
then they can kill anything. you
Paul, why do we call them Tims?
bring. Because people in Magic are really dorky. And it comes from the Holy Grail. And Tim the Enchanter, the original.
Some call me Tim.
Yes. There are some who call me Tim.
He looks sort of similar, and he's chucking fire around.
Yeah, the Prodigal Sorcerer is the original.
Yeah.
What is going on in this next picture? It looks like some sort of spa disaster. Right?
Yeah.
It's like it's an exploding woman's face
Oh,
covered
is
in
it
ice.
Circle of Protection?
It's Circle of Protection blue.
Ugh.
Sigh.
The Circle of Protections were
It's
not
like
a good
you
idea.
talk about corner cards.
Yeah.
This is the one. 1
Sick
and a white.
sideboard tech.
Yeah, 1 and a white for an enchantment. 1 colorless, prevent all damage against you from 1 blue source. If a source deals damage to you more than once in a turn, You may pay 1 each time to prevent the damage. I love the old verbose wording on the cards.
It's oracled to just now. The next time a blue sorcerer choice with the damage to you, prevent that damage. I believe, like I had one of my prized possessions in my old set was circle protection artifacts, which was generally considered to be the best circle of protection because it actually would come into play more often.
Well, it's also not often you get something that gives something protection from artifacts.
Right. Well, we're not actually giving protection, but we're preventing damage.
Yeah, basically. We have a Rime Dryad, which is a 1/2 Dryad with snow-covered forest. What? Sorry?
R-I-M-E?
Oh, R-I-M.
R-I-M-E, yeah. With snow-covered forest walk.
And a shattering 1 power.
Yep. See, if this was a piker, it would be bananas.
Yeah, well, this is a there's the original Sylvan Dryad. Sylvan Dryad, I think.
Sylvan Dryad?
Sylvan.
Or is it Shannon Dryads?
Je ne sais pas.
From Revised.
Well, because there was like a 1-drop 1/1 with forest walk.
Yeah.
Oh, is this just like a really savage downgrade?
Well, this is snow-covered forest walk, but has one more toughness.
So
I guess they considered it to be roughly equivalent, even though it's not at all.
Well, it blocks Monza's Goblin Raiders, I tell you what.
Sweet combo with Weathervane.
Ooh.
Always with the Weathervane.
Secret tech, right?
So you're hoping to build the green-white deck here and put on the...
No, you're hoping the other guy...
Obsidian Scarab, or the Black Scarab?
Oh, right, yeah.
So here's something kind of old school. Burnt Offering is an interrupt.
Ooh.
For 1 black. Sacrifice a creature.
Wait.
Oh.
What's an interrupt?
Oh, sorry. Burnt Offering.
Oh.
Sorry, I was interrupting you to explain what an interrupt
I see what you did there. Sacrifice a creature to add that creature's casting costs in any combination of red and or black mana to your mana pool. So yeah, this is back when they were still having black as like a mana creating color.
Right.
Which
they haven't done that for a while.
Well, now black messes with its swamps to create. Like it still does accelerate mana, but it doesn't.
Yeah, they're sort of more on the Cabal Coffers kind of theme.
Yeah,
it's
it does like
we'll
swamps.
make mana out of swamps.
Right. But yeah, Dark Ritual's gone.
What do you want to bet that this had a slightly different name in internal testing?
Oh, I see. Wicker Man.
No.
What?
Remember we were talking earlier about a burnt offering?
Oh! Why would you bring that into this podcast?
I'm not.
All right.
I hate you forever. There's another quote from Limdol the Necromancer here. My foes serve me twice, in dying and in death. But you're sacking your own creature.
Yeah. So this is now an instant. Back in the day, it was an interrupt, which technically was faster than an instant.
I bet it isn't as fast as Morph.
And the reason why it was that they had to do that, so originally they made interrupts basically for counter spells because they didn't have the stack, and so the idea was that I think it was like everything would keep going until an interrupt hit, and then it would stop.
Right.
Oh, so what? Like an interrupt was a prototype form of split second?
No, except another interrupt could interrupt an interrupt, but you couldn't instant after an interrupt, I believe.
So you can't respond to this except with another interrupt.
So people probably tell me I got that wrong, but because this is creating mana, that's probably why they did it as an interrupt.
Right, so that you could respond to a removal spell.
Yeah, so somebody could cast could whatever lightning bolt your guy, and you could sacrifice him in response. But yeah, this is a card that is this is an ability that is used still. Usually not as a usually you'd have like an artifact or something that would allow you to do this, or a dude who would have this as an ability.
Well, the thing is that this card is like pretty harshly outclassed by Dark Ritual or like any other sort of ritual.
Yeah.
Because, it doesn't have the additional cost of having to wipe out one of your guys.
What was the kind of the version of this from Innistrad? Perilous Fall?
Infernal Plunge?
Infernal Plunge. Yeah, where you sack a creature and get 3.
Really, really bad falling off a thing.
Boof.
Perilous plunge.
Infernal Plunge. Wasn't that part of that goofy, not quite storm deck that somebody had?
Yeah,
Played, like, Infernal
Ben
Plunge
Wheeler
and-
had the Goblin Storm deck that played like what was it? Not Cult Oath of Forge Master, Chancellor of the Forge.
Oh yeah, just made a bunch of guys turn 1. And
Yeah, and
like,
then
set fire to
burned
them.
at the stake.
So this is yeah. So interestingly, so this is a sorcery.
Mhm.
So the other one's so you couldn't do this in response.
Right.
So the other one's better in that regard.
Mhm.
And if the thing had more than 3 is it power or casting cost?
It's at CMC.
CMC, yeah. So anyway,
Well,
next.
Orcish farmer. He's got a
Hmm.
big pig
What is he farming? Pigs.
farming pigs. Actually, he's farming swamps because we'll get to his ability in a second. It's 1 red for a bear. You can tap him, and target land becomes a swamp until its controller's next untap phase. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Turn on Swamp Walk. Were there any utility lands that were relevant in this block? It's like end step, make your... Oh, no, that doesn't even work.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say it's like turn off your Mazavith or something. But
But
that
you can
wasn't
always tap in response, right?
Well, yeah, you can
Yeah.
float mana in response, but if it's like a goofy utility land that like maybe hits guys
Yeah.
or does...
Right, yeah.
It's not very good.
Mana burn was a thing in this, though, so you wouldn't do
Ooh.
that.
But
And
yeah,
it
I feel
trumps-
like turning on Swamp Walk is kind of where this is at.
Mm-hmm.
It's like weird red-black. Maybe red-black was a deck.
Although
Or you could
at
use it on
double
yourself
red-
to do some mana smoothing.
Yeah, like really awkwardly fix yourself into black.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Last card in the pack, another classic, and another very played card, actually. Hydroblast. Another interrupt for 1 blue. This is a functional reprint of Red Elemental or Blue Elemental Blast, but it has some differences that I recall. I don't remember what they are. But somebody told me that there are some important differences between Hydroblast and Blue Elemental Blast.
So Hydroblast is
the
counters target spell if it's red or destroy target permanent if it's red. Okay.
and then Blue Elemental Blast, which is almost the same card.
Counter target red spell, destroy target red permanent.
Huh.
So
Oh,
if
so
it's
is there like a Painter's
if
Servant?
it's-
This
if
is
it's
this is
red-
main decked in the Painter's Servant deck as a Vindicate,
Right.
because you play Painter's Servant, name red, and then this is a 1 mana counter anything or blow up.
So there's a difference between a red
Right.
spell and a spell that is
spell
red.
That is red. It's like the one time that actually comes up, you're going to be in a really weird game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So yeah, this is in a lot of sideboards in Legacy, and main decked in Painter's Servant,
Right.
which sort of leads us into Legacy.
Well, also we could talk about what we've been brewing before we get into.
That's a good idea.
All right.
We'll get to that.
So there's our sweet Ice Age pack. I'm afraid I don't know who sent that to us, but thank you very much who sent that to us.
Yeah. It
It-
good old nostalgia.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
there's a lot of really classic cards in here.
I was hoping to see like a Kuldothan Sky Knight
Oh, yeah, sweet.
or Keldoran Sky Knight.
Oh yeah, the Keldorian.
Kildorian.
For some reason,
Keldorian.
for some reason they just had there's
Bork,
like
bork,
Keldoran, Keldorans, and
Wait,
Keldor-
what?
there-
Keldon and Keldoran?
there's
Yeah.
Keldoran, Keldorn, and Keldon.
No.
or something. There
Yeah.
was it was really stupid for a while.
Yeah, somebody really likes that combination of noises.
Anyway,
Well,
all right. So what are we talking about? What you're doing right now in terms of decks?
Okay. Well, recently I've put together a Shroom the Hegemon deck
oh boy,
for Commander.
I'm excited.
As it turns out, I've also been told is another super unfun commander to play against, which I seem to have a talent for building.
Sorry, how do you spell Sharoom?
Sharuum.
Sharoom.
Or is it 2 U's or single? Yeah. Sharoon.
We're fortunate that
Sharoon.
Tinker is not an allowed card in that format.
Yeah, as it turns out, also Metalworker is an allowed card.
Oh,
boring.
Gives.
yawn.
But I don't.
Well, you wouldn't be able to play him anyway. He's red.
So like I mean
Metalworker?
like
Oh, sorry, not Metalworker. I was
Welder.
thinking
You were
Welder.
thinking, yeah.
like Sharoon the hedge, like he seems fairly innocuous.
Yeah, until you start doing things like, until you start putting in cards like, even Thopter Foundry, Skull Clamp, what's his name, Blink Planeswalker, Fencer,
Oh, wow.
to blink Sharoon and just start landing stuff from your graveyard directly into play, or pitching,
Oh yeah, once you start blinking him, then it becomes
Yeah.
very bad.
or if you can have effects that discard cards from your hand to get an effect, and you discard Blightsteel Colossus, then play Sharoon.
Doesn't he shuffle himself? Or can
when
you
he
respond?
he's indestructible. Or no, wait, sorry, yeah, it's not Blightsteel Colossus, of course, but things like Bladewind Sphinx, or sorry,
Sphinx of the Steel Wind?
Sphinx of the Steel Wind,
Oh, I hate
who, as
that
it turns
guy.
out, is basically invulnerable to everything because you can't Doomblade him, you can't go for the throat him,
You
you
can't do anything
terror.
to that
He's
guy.
got probe.
Okay, yeah, he's a black artifact
Mhm.
that has protection from red and green.
Yeah,
So it's like, ugh, why can't you die? So no
Yeah.
shatters, no naturalizes. Touch.
Is it a
this guy.
pure artifact deck?
no, there are a couple of non-artifact cards in it, like Detention Sphere, Oblivion Ring, Tinker and Trinket Mage. I have a foil Azorius Guild Mage that I really like, so I put her in. And then there are a bunch of Esper-colored board wipe effects because it's a commander deck. So
Sorry.
I've got a Wrath of God, Wrath of God, Cruel or Merciless Eviction.
That one seems really good in Commander.
Yeah, and then I also have the tailor-made for this deck Wrath effect, which is Scourglass.
Oh yeah,
Scour glass.
is that the one that I can't remember what it does?
Destroy
It just-
all non-artifacts.
That seems real good in your
yeah.
deck. So I forgot that Sphinx of the Steel Wind has like 6 abilities:
Yeah, it's
flying, first strike,
Baneslayer Sphinx.
vigilance, lifelink, protection from red and green.
No Death Touch. Sad
Oh,
face.
muffin! No trample either, Cam,
Oh.
and no rampage.
Destroy all permanents except artifacts. And wow.
That's yeesh.
Activate only. Another fun card to recur with Sharoon.
Boom. Oh, sorry, did I stutter? Boom again.
Yeah. So I like cards with a lot of graveyard interactions, so long as nobody plays something that goozles that.
The Leyline
Yeah,
of the Void or something.
Yeah,
just
Leyline
like,
of the
oh,
Voids
no.
or
I like how simple Leyline of the Void is. Just like, oh, by the way, your deck doesn't work now.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Like, it's
some
such-
decks, it is such a brutal hosing against.
Like,
Yeah.
but it's just like it's not even a. It's
it
not
isn't-
even like an active thing. It's just like, oh, we're just gonna play this game without graveyards.
Yeah. By the way, your deck no longer works.
Yeah, it's like even Yixla Jailer is not that cruel.
Yeah. Like, I remember one game of Commander we played, somebody had Leyline of the Void just in as, like, their 99th card. And
And because the Leyline, it comes
yeah.
out before the game starts. Right?
so basically all you do at that point is sit down and just, like, top deck and not really do anything in that game.
I guess I mean then if you scour glass, then you can blow it up.
Yeah.
But
Right. So I've had some fun hands with this deck where I've gone like Seed of the Synod, Mox Opal, Soul Ring into Lightning Greaves.
Like Master Transmuter?
Yeah, next turn, Master Transmuter into Blight Steel. Like,
So
with the Lightning
you're like
Greaves.
second turn.
I like the-
Lightning
Yeah.
Greaves on a Blightsteel
I like
Colossus.
the visual of Blightsteel Colossus wearing these teeny tiny boots
Yeah.
and running super fast.
Yeah, with like
Little-
pizzicato violin strings.
little like tap shoes.
Yep.
Boof.
Yeah, and just like
And
Yeah.
somebody just be like, "What's that noise?" Opens
It's like,
the door.
thum,
so.
thum, thum.
I'd originally wanted to call this deck the Riddle of Steel. And
Oh, that's so good.
when I announced I had completed it, Graham asked me if I was still calling it the Riddle of Steel, and really, a turn 2 Blightsteel Colossus doesn't really lend itself terribly well to things like riddles, which are nuanced and complicated and requires
it's just
refined
not-
understanding of
It's
things.
not really a riddle.
Yeah,
A
no.
Blightsteel Colossus.
One-shot robot is where the answer to all riddles converge. So instead, I'm calling the deck Singularity.
Nice.
Is it? I mean, there's no poison stuff in the deck. It's just Blightsteel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the
Blightsteel.
thing is that like
Blightsteel
Blightsteel
doesn't need
on its
support.
own
Yeah.
just one-shots anybody.
So basically, I've brought an archenemy deck to a commander game.
Womp womp. Maybe we should just play Archenemy. That would be kind of sweet.
Yeah. Anyways, it's fun with a lot of interactions and, well, at least interactions on my side. I don't know about
be like
what
a-
your experience is going to be with it.
A game of archenemy that's like two archenemies fighting each other.
Oh wow.
They like both have the archenemy decks.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Double Archenemy plane chase.
But like there's no actual like good guys that
No,
they're
you
fighting.
know what you do is you have two archenemies and then like other players playing peasants, and you just have to keep as many of your tokens alive as possible.
That could be fun.
Actually, yeah.
And like
We may have just invented a new format.
and like the other people can't, or the archenemies can't actually like attack the peasants directly, but the peasants just get killed by all like the
By, like,
board
wrath
wipers.
spells.
Oh, yeah.
Like they just get killed by the like knock-on effects from everything the archenemies
Yeah,
are doing
exactly.
to each other.
Like you cast Lightning Bolt. The sonic boom kills 3 peasants.
Oh
I
man,
kind of like that. Yeah.
should do that.
Wasn't there a fantasy novel series where that happened, where there was a mage battle between like this group of mages, and they were fighting alongside their armies, and the wizards on one side started like throwing lightning bolts and fireballs at the other wizards, who were just like, ah, and started having to deflect them, right? Like they had been caught off guard, and they were deflecting them into the army they were supposed to be protecting.
Well, that's awkward.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Sorry. Oh, what was I going to say? There was one other thing.
Loading.
Yeah, and also I feel the deck has a lot of room to grow. I think the mana base could use some refinement, and there are other cards I want to add, so it'll be a fun project.
Esper Artifacts gets you into a lot of really fun cards, you know, for multiplayer and for single player.
Are you using like the Urzatron in there? Or?
No, I'm
I
not quite
feel-
sure how to make it work in a singleton format.
Oh, that's
I
true.
think that
You-
Urzatron would be real bad in that deck.
Yeah, well, you can't. Yeah, in Highlander,
Because you need-
you have to have all three.
Like I
yeah,
actually
and
think,
I think you need Primeval or
Well, you-
Primeval Titan to really
yeah,
make
it's
that
like
deck
you know
sing,
what
right?
deck Urzatron would be really good in is mono green.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
because you have the tools you need to go and find all three of them, and then you ramp into like an Eldrazi or something.
Right.
So
But things like I don't
just
know,
like modern.
I think a smokestacks would be fun,
Ooh,
or tangle wire,
you dirtbag.
because you return smokestacks during your own
Yeah.
upkeep, right?
Oh man.
Transmute it into something else.
Smokestack tangle wire that just like turns the game into complete despair for your opponent.
I think it's fun. I also really like the art for smokestack.
It's really weird looking. It's like magic gear 2/2 death stack.
I think it's
thing.
pretty.
No, it is really cool. It's also from that. Well, I mean, it's an Urza block card, so of
Yeah.
course it has like insane art.
It's like, but it's like
But that's also where the Urza Saga logo comes from.
Is it?
The gears on the
the
smokestack.
the two gears. Yeah,
Mind blown.
Yeah.
But it's like, what the hell kind of smoke is coming out of this thing?
Death smoke.
Is Soviet super science.
Yeah, like no matter what it is
No,
that
it's
sniffs
dead.
this stuff,
goes
it
away.
dies. If like one guy's got an Eldrazi and it walks by the smokestack at the wrong time,
Well, it's like it's
Boom.
a really good card flavor wise because it's just this horrible encroaching pollution that eventually gets so bad that it destroys itself. Because like it's
oh yeah, it sacrifices a permanent, right? So it kills
yeah,
itself
like
eventually.
ideally you play this with some source of like token manufacturing so that like the choices for your opponents are horrible and for you are really easy. And
Right,
then,
so you
know,
like pump it up really big, and then before it gets back to you, you sack it.
yeah, well it's like you can there's other things about like stacking the triggers on smokestack and or tangle wire.
Yeah,
so that
where
it's
you
better
can-
for you. Tangle wire is especially bad because one of the permanents you always tap is tangle wire.
Right. Well, with Tangle Wire, what you do is you stack the triggers in such a way so that you use the tangle wire trigger before you add another, or before. Sorry,
Yeah,
you remove a token or a counter from it before you activate its trigger, and then
Yeah.
you do the opposite with smokestack.
Yep. Yeah, that got reprinted in FTV 20.
Yeah, so I've actually got one, but I'd like the older one.
Yeah, the
I-
old Tangle Wire looks really cool.
I also prefer the brown borders of
Those
old
guys
artifacts.
are having a bad day.
So do I. I
Just
like artifacts with the brown borders.
mono brown.
Yeah, I find the gray often looks too much like white.
Well, that was the problem they had in Mirrodin.
Yeah, where they had to darken.
They had to
The-
darken down the gray. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I guess now they use brown for land though, so they want to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well.
How about you, Alex? What do you run?
I've been sort of tinkering away at my blue-white Highlander deck, sort of trying to figure out whether I want to go more the route of like white weenie splashing blue, or keep it as sort of like an even colored tempo deck. Because Highlander, you can do all sorts of stuff. There's no right answer. Like I think actually white weenie splashing blue won Highlander last week.
Really?
And it was like a really, really conservative splash, too. Like, it was in there for Geist of St. Traft, and that might have been it. I feel like there's, like, maybe one other blue card in it, but it was just, like, a basic white weenie deck with all the anthems and Armageddon and just, like, all the 1-drop pikers and all the 2-drop 3-1s. And apparently it just gets there.
I mean, I guess if you have enough anthems and that kind of effects,
Well, yeah,
then your
there's-
white weenies become scary very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the further into a theme you get, the more sort of, powerful that theme becomes. It's like if you play hard white weenie, you can play all the good anthems, all the synergistic sort of all white creatures get this. And then your mana base becomes easier, and you can play the double white and triple white cards without caring.
I mean, I find Highlander interesting in that way, in that it's like, 10 years ago, you couldn't have really played Highlander effectively because there just wasn't enough versions of different cards, right? Or it would be a very different game. Whereas it's like the white weenie deck doesn't work until there's three or four different functional reprints of Anthem.
Yeah, you sort of need a certain density of, like, if you're going in with a theme like that, you need a certain density of particular types of cards. It's like you need the really efficient beaters, and then like the sort of pump effects or them. I mean, and it's only one way of making a Highlander deck. Some people will just take a stack of 100 of the best cards in a vacuum, and it works.
Right.
So it's like you get a lot of European lists are kind of like that. It's just like
This is all good
X,
stuff.
Y, Z color, good stuff, and it's just all
Right.
these incredibly powerful cards, all together in a deck, and it works.
Right, where you look at whatever your opening hand is.
Yeah, and sometimes like it's not even good stuff decks are they're good and powerful and fun. They're a little unfocused sometimes because it's like, is it a control deck or an aggro deck? Guess what? It's all of them.
But I guess like themes.
Themes,
Like
they can lend themselves to being really, really strong.
But I can see how themes or sort of tribal decks or a certain type of deck is certainly harder to maintain in Highlander as opposed to in a regular thing, just because you only have that one of each card. So things tend to get a little bit more diffuse.
Although it cuts both ways. You can like have access to a greater diversity of cards than you would in another constructed format because you only play one of each.
Right.
You can get all sorts of really fun effects, and then your tutors become way more powerful because your toolkit gets way bigger. So like this goblins deck that I play is a good example of that. It's like you play a lot of the just good beater goblins, and then you play a lot of the weird sort of corner case utility goblins that do a particular thing that you want them to do, and the whole deck synergizes really well with itself. So you end up playing a lot of cards that would be totally useless in any other deck, but are amazing in goblins.
Right. Well, I guess if nothing else, they're another goblin body that gets pumped.
Yeah, like a lot of the cards you play are basically just Mons' Goblin Raiders with a twist. And that's sometimes good enough because you just play like 1 and then 2 and then 3 of them.
And then you go, and then the guy puts out something and you go, aha, I have a thing for that.
Yep.
Here we go. Pull up my whatever the goblin tutor is, the matron.
Right. And I find that Highlander is interesting in that it resolutely refuses to converge on a deck,
Yeah,
on a best deck.
The format, at least in Victoria, is basically unsolvable because I think we mentioned this the last time we talked about Highlander is in Germany where they have a ban list. A lot of the decks start to look really similar.
Yeah, I'd heard
because,
that Bant Auras
just Bant good stuff is kind of the deck.
Right.
And then
Or
like,
they'll be
it's
like
either
a,
Bant good stuff or Pattern Rector, and then everything else is just sort of like second or third.
There'll be
fourth
like
banana.
there'll be like a shell, and then like they'll switch out a few.
Yeah,
cards.
and then they'll do the variants will be like 4-color good stuff and then 5-color good stuff.
Right.
Whereas in our local scene, we have like goblins, we have Storm, we have White Weenie, we have like artifacts, we have got.
And you're saying that
there was the archetype that we call Sorensen.
Yeah, which
right,
is
which
like a blue green
resolve-
tempo deck.
Yeah, resolve an early threat and protect it.
Yeah, just protect it forever.
so and
And like mono black one recently, like mono black aggro.
Right. And
so what
maybe-
you're saying is the more extensive ban list in Germany is what causes that?
Somebody I think Brett explained this to me because it didn't make sense to me. I was like, well, why would just banning all these power cards, mess the format up like that? And his theory was that it was like removing a third of the meta. So like the good stuff deck beats, the combo deck, and then like the combo deck beats the playing ban cards deck. And if you remove one of those, then I don't know how to explain this properly, but it's like you remove one of the predators, and then like one of the decks or like archetypes just becomes like completely spurious.
Right.
And one deck becomes the best.
right, like maybe that
It's like
that Bant good stuff deck could just not compete with a deck that puts what we run with here is a point list, right?
Right.
Where maybe it just can't compete with a deck that is able to slam a Mox.
Yeah, the thing is,
Turn
like
one.
Magic, I think in a healthy format is a sort of a rock paper scissors thing. So, okay, yeah, it would be like removing rock from the
Right.
equation. So without rock, paper is unplayable, and scissors is the only deck you want to play.
Right.
right. So it's like if
So
there's
that was the idea. It's like you remove one of the components from the meta, and then one of them.
Yeah,
becomes
suddenly
useless.
your ecosystem collapses.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So there's like 5 good decks that are competing against each other.
Yeah, in a sort of a like this deck beats this deck, but this deck beats this deck,
Right.
and then this.
But when you start banning things, then you just end up with whatever deck didn't happen to use the cards that are banned.
Yeah, and it's just like extremely powerful on its own.
Right. Right. Okay.
So-
I get it.
So yeah, we have the points list sort of allows us to have a really diverse, pretty healthy meta, where you can try almost anything. It may not work, but you can put together a deck that will function and be fun. Like I played Dredge one time, which was pretty goofy. My friend Chris has a really sweet Reanimator deck, which is budget actually, and like stomps all over some decks.
Neat. Well, and Nelson's mono black aggro deck that won,
So happy about that.
which I don't know if you've talked about this here, but in our
No, I
local
don't think
meta,
so.
mono black was considered unplayable because it is very
it's hard.
soft to enchantments.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's
Literally, I believe black has no way of killing enchantment.
It has 1 or 2 cards that are useless that deal with enchantments.
Right.
It's the way black deals with enchantments
This
is
is hand attack.
Nevinyral's Desk and hand attack.
Yeah,
Right.
or it's like Ratchet Bomb or something like an artifact.
But
that'll
yeah,
kill
there was a
enchantment.
challenge going for the longest time. It's like if you can win Highlander with a mono black deck, you get a Bloodstained Mire. And a lot of people went the control route. Like they built this like hard control decks that played like the Abyss and Smokestack Tanglewire and like all the black planeswalkers and stuff.
Yeah,
And they
like all
just
the
lost to blue X Tempo.
Yeah, which is a better control deck.
Yeah. Like they crushed aggro decks. Like mono black control will just obliterate sort of aggro decks because it plays all these like sweeper effects and it has a decent amount of life gain.
Right, and also some really good land destruction.
Yeah, it's pretty savage. But Nelson put together this aggro deck that just plays all the sort of carnophages and hand attack and stuff like that, and still has the sort of land hate.
Right,
and
but also
got
not
there.
not just good hand attack either, but things like despise, right, which are marginal, but still hit your hand.
Yeah, it's very, very.
Well,
I mean, hand attack, while not quite as bad as land attack, is one of those things where it's just like
Yeah,
can't do anything if you don't got no cards.
like the dilemma I'm faced with hand attack spells is, well, do I counter it? Right? Like,
Yeah, that's
he might
always
just
tricky.
take the counter spell.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like you counter it or he takes the counter spell, which effectively the same thing happened.
Yeah, only I didn't have to pay mana, right? So it's a mind game thing.
Right.
But it's a lot easier with some things like, I guess you would play like Lifebane Zombie as well. Seems like a good addition for that deck.
I'm pretty sure that card's in there. But yeah.
But Mono Black gets to play Phyrexian Obliterator.
And no other deck gets
Yeah.
to do that. Turns out that card's real good.
Yeah.
You want to talk about cards that are good against aggro. It's like, well, this lightning bolt is now a triple vindicate to my face.
Yeah.
Ugh, and it doesn't even kill it. Blah.
Phyrexian Obliterator is ridiculous. I remember when I saw it. I guess it's because it's
It's fair because it's quad black.
yeah.
And again, there's one deck that can play that,
Yeah.
and it's mono black.
Boom.
I mean, you could, in theory, he might make a good reanimate target, even though he's not that expensive.
But basically, it's you have to cheat him into play somehow if you're not running Mono Black.
Yeah, he's
Right.
He's the Phyrexian totem with the polarity reversed, so that it's really, really good. Ugh, that card, so horrifying.
See, this is what Phyrexia should have just sent a bunch of these guys in.
Maybe
Yeah.
they did. They did win after all.
I suppose so. Yeah.
They're just like, oh wait, these guys are the greatest. Make
why are
make
we
10,000 of those.
Yeah, why are we
and this
bothering
war will
with
be
all the
over.
other weird things? Let's
Yeah.
just make more of these.
Yeah, I think we found our solution to the Mirren problem.
Yeah.
It's only 4 mana.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap. We got a ton of swamps lying around.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Hey, and if you need a swamp, get your orcish pig farmer out there.
Yeah. No, actually,
and,
like,
turn one of your other guys.
Phyrexia
into
already had that technology. They had Yawgmoth.
Yeah.
Urborg was the swamp that made all other things swamps, which was Yawgmoth's tomb,
Ugh.
right? Who
I saw one piece of artwork for that guy, and he was horrifying.
Urborg? Sorry, Urborg?
Yawgmoth.
Oh, Yawgmoth.
It's not
Wait.
the Yawgmoth as an actual entity does not exist.
YAWG. Oh yeah, he was
He's not in the
destroyed.
game.
No, yeah.
Oh, no?
But, yeah,
they
but
never
there-
made a card for him?
No.
He's
he,
referred to many times in the game.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
he's
he was the god of Phyrexia.
Right, and
Right.
he's the big guy that everyone was
But yeah,
fighting, right?
yeah, somebody did like
I'm surprised he never actually had a card.
yeah, it's pretty weird. It's just like Yawgmoth, blah blah blah. Somebody did like a painting of him, and he was just like nightmare fuel.
So it's
YAWG.
So yeah, there's like Yawgmoth, Demon, Agenda, Bargain, Edict, Will, and what's that last one?
Fissure.
that's just
Ugh.
Yawning Fissure.
Oh, Yawning Fissure.
Nope.
Yawgmoth's Fissure. Oh! That's,
like
Yawgmoth isn't proud of that one.
I remember way back in the day looking at, I think, Yawgmoth's agenda and staring at the card and just thinking, be better,
Oh yeah.
right? Like
The agenda's not that good.
yeah.
All right, what's the agenda do?
You can play cards from your graveyard, but you can only cast one spell a turn.
I wanted that card to be.
And
Oh, it could have been so much. But I guess
almost good.
Yeah,
But the
almost
problem
good.
is like that card is one word off from being the most busted thing in the world.
Yeah.
And they've got to be really careful with that mechanic because like Yawgmoth's Will is like
Well, yeah. Yawgmoth's
Pretty-
Will was
savagely busted.
Well, Yawgmoth's Will was the different
it was,
necropotence, right?
No, it's
It was
two and a-
black,
two and a
toon
black.
and you may cast cards from your graveyard this turn.
until end of turn, and
Oh,
if,
okay.
if anything hits the graveyard, it's exiled.
Yeah, it was Past in Flames was one more mana, which turned out to make it not playable. Really, well, I mean it gets into like Modern Storm.
Yeah. Well, because like you play out all your fast mana and then run
Yeah.
it all back again.
Yeah, like
and
you
build
played
up
all
storm
your
camp.
rituals, all your rituals again.
Yep, and then you get twice as much storm count for
Mhm.
playing one card.
That's unfortunate.
Wow. I think that's the kind of play you get to play in doing
Yeah.
vintage.
Yeah.
I guess it was
Your one copy of Yawgmoth's Will.
because like Urza never actually showed up as a card either, right?
Urza
no.
Planewalker, I thought was a card.
His power armor shows up.
Yeah.
Mishra shows up.
Yeah, Mishra is a card.
He has a card.
Yeah, he's
Oh, yeah,
Grixis
Urza.
colored.
Yeah, Urza.
Oh,
Oh no,
no,
Urza.
That's an avatar.
Because the problem was because this is
No
pre
Urza, comma.
You've got like Urza's Rage.
Urza's armor, Urza's Avenger. Yeah, I don't think because the trick was this is pre-reconstruction or whatever you want to call it. Pre-depowering.
Pre-crisis magic.
Yeah, the idea was that the planeswalkers were so insanely powerful.
Yeah.
There's no way they could be cards,
Right.
right? That they could like create worlds and stuff,
Mhm.
and they would just be like, boom.
Yeah.
And so the idea of them being cards was silly.
Yeah.
Although maybe not so much now. Maybe we'll get.
Well,
like,
but now,
Yeah, and then they
But
decided
now-
they could print actually terrible ones like what's his name? Double Red.
Tybalt?
Yeah,
oh,
Tybalt.
Tybalt, yeah, it's like ugh.
Babby Planeswalker.
Poor Tybalt.
I don't know. An Urza Planeswalker would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
What would Urza Planeswalker do?
Scary stuff.
he'd probably be
involving
similar.
Artifacts.
He'd probably be similar to Venser, really, in terms
what?
of doing stuff. With
I don't know. Maybe
artifacts.
like halfway
Yeah.
between both of the Tezzerets.
Yeah, I could see that. What he would
Oh,
be
sorry,
5
yeah.
color or 4 color minus black?
5 color. I don't know. We'd have to look back into the history.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
not,
know really
I'm not
enough
that much
about-
versed in the lore.
the Brothers' War.
There's no actual Vorthos here.
No.
I am quite fascinated by all that stuff, but the early stuff gets really weird.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
Also, Urza's fashion sense is just appalling. He comes from that school of wizard art that really liked pointed caps and robes, right? Where everyone was Gandalf.
Yeah.
I like pointed caps and robes.
I put on my wizard robe and cap.
I cast a spell.
All
Do
right.
I see that happening?
All right. Well, we should maybe call it there.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking for a while about silly things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, thanks guys for telling us about your decks, and maybe when we put this up, if you want to post your deck list
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a
to
good idea.
the
Play
forums.
Highlander.
Possibly, yeah. Unlike other people who may have been on this podcast, actually remember to post your deck list.
Right.
I will attempt to do so. This list is in flux, so maybe I'll just put up what I have.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're just
You
what-
can laugh at my marginal
main-
choices.
the main parts, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and we will talk to you guys later.
Bye.